Peace be to you. I hereby invoke the United States Fair Use Law, whereby certain portion of the copyrighted materials may be reproduced without the prior consent of the copyright owners for comments, news reporting, criticism and educational purposes. I shall play the video clip of Dr. Zakir Naik, whereby he said first cousins marriage is allowed in the Quran. This refutes the false assertion of some Muslims, who deny that Quran permits incestuous marriage between cousins.
The brothers asked two questions. The first question that is talking about consanguineous marriages. Consanguineous marriages means marriage between close relatives. In English it's called as consanguineous marriages. And in consanguineous marriages, medical science tells us today, there are high chances of genetic problems. And I do agree with the brother. So why does Islam permit that? It's clearly mentioned in the Quran in Surah Nisa chapter number 4 verse number 22 to 24, the woman who you can marry and the woman who you cannot marry is mentioned there. Amongst them it's clearly mentioned you cannot marry your sister and a lady cannot marry the brother. It's mentioned. Neither the father, neither the mother, you cannot marry the brother of your father, the ladies, and you cannot marry the sister of your father. That means the important close relatives are mentioned in the Quran. Brother, sister cannot marry, son and mother, father and daughter, paternal uncle, maternal uncle can't marry. But as far as first cousins are concerned, Islam does give permission. Now, as far as consanguineous marriages are concerned, the maximum problem comes when you marry your direct blood brother and sister.
As a matter of fact, the Torah of Moses is forbidding the close relatives' marriage. Leviticus 18 verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahweh. Restored Name King James Version. Cousins are near of kin or close relatives from the common grandparent. This particular statement should carry as much weight as any other verses in the Torah of Yahweh.
Prostitution, temporary marriages, again, right out of the Quran, 424. As long as a man negotiates a dowry with a woman, he can temporarily marry her for even as short as 15 minutes. Oh, we don't do prostitution. Well, yeah, you do. You just call it temporary marriage. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, cha-cha, okay? Prostitution is prostitution. Incest, massive problem in the Muslim world. These people are all so heavily inbred and have been inbred for 1,400 years, marrying their cousins, marrying their double cousins, uncles marrying nieces, folding the genetic dough back in over on itself over and over and over again for 1,400 years. These people are developmentally disabled. I'm not being funny. Okay? Our IQ bell curve is over here, theirs is over here. Politically incorrect? I don't give a crap. It's the truth. These people are stupid. That's why they're so gullible. That's why they're so easily manipulated by these despotic tyrannies. Because they'll just fall after anybody who says anything because they don't have the brains to think their way out of it. Another evil, satanic dynamic. Cousins, double cousins. Do you know what double cousins are? Let's say, this is a great example. We all know about Prince William just married Kate, the lovely Kate over in England. Okay, Prince William's brother is Harry, right? And Kate, she has a beautiful sister, her name is Pippa. Okay, so William and Kate are married to each other. What if Harry and Pippa married each other? That would be fine. That would be completely legal and that would be fine. That happens, it's happened throughout history where, you know, two brothers marry two sisters. There's no problem with that. In Muslim culture, two brothers marry two sisters, they have children, and then those children marry each other. That's like marrying your full sibling. Goes on all the time. Massive genetic damage for over 1,400 years. Muslims are deeply susceptible to coercion due to the lower IQ. There's good news, though. If you can break this and you can get people to start marrying outside of their family, God engineered us so that our DNA has a massive capacity to self-correct. You could fix this in a matter of just a few generations if you just get those people out from under this jackboot and let them marry who they want and live normal, happy human lives. It could come right back. We're designed with that so it can come right back. But as long as they're trapped in this sickness, this is just going to keep going and going and going.
Recently, I've been wondering, how did Muslims degenerate from one of the most powerful, richest, and advanced people of the world to what they are today? They are nothing but a shadow of their former selves. Often they are violent and irrational, as we've seen in Europe lately with the high amounts of crime the Muslim migrants commit. Knowing that, it's quite unsurprising to see that 51% of US Muslims want Sharia law to be enforced, and 25% are okay with violence against Americans. One could say it's the Quran that's making them act in such a primitive way, and I would agree since there are very violent verses that people interpret as literal. But there are also verses that encourage these people to inbreed, which causes each new generation to be worse than the previous one. Although here in the first world we have laws that forbid incest, Muslim majority countries have been practicing it for the last 1,400 years, and Allah doesn't mind it. This has caused close to half of all Muslims in the world to be inbred. Here are the statistics. 70% of Pakistanis, 67% of Saudi Arabians, 64% of those living in Jordan and Kuwait, 63% of Sudanese, 60% of Iraqi, 54% of Muslims in the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, and 25 to 30% of those in Turkey are inbred. In England, at least 55% of Pakistani immigrants are married to their first cousins. In Denmark, the number of inbred Pakistani immigrants is around 40%. So what's wrong with incest exactly? I'm sure most of you have heard the terrible birth defects you can get from being inbred, but you don't know the exact statistics. So here they are. Incest causes a 100% increase in the risk of stillbirths, 50% increase in the risk that the child dies during labor. The risk of autosomal recessive genetic disorders, such as cystic fibrosis and spinal muscular atrophy, is 18 times higher. The risk of death due to malformations is 10 times higher. And after generations and generations of incest, the birth defects get worse and worse and more common. But it's not only birth defects that you have to worry about. Incest also causes an increased risk of mental and physical retardation and schizophrenic illnesses. The closer the blood relative, the higher risk of schizophrenia. Social abilities develop much slower in inbred babies. Visual fixation, social smile, sound seizures, oral expression, and hand grasping are significantly delayed in the newborn inbred babies. Research shows that if your parents are cousins, intelligence goes down 10 to 16 IQ points. The risk of having an IQ lower than 70, which is the official classification for being retarded, increases 400% among children of cousin marriages. Unsurprisingly, the average IQ of someone in a Muslim country is only 81, all thanks to incest. A lot of people say IQ doesn't matter, and they are wrong, and as a response to that, I say just look at the achievements of countries with high IQs compared to those with low IQs. Just compare Japan to Pakistan. It's fucking obvious. The Middle Eastern low IQ would explain why the Arab world translates only 330 books every year. That's about 20% of what Greece does alone. In the last 1,200 years of Islam, just 100,000 books have been translated into Arabic. And that's about what Spain does in a single year. 7 out of 10 Turks have never even read a book. Only 9 Muslims have ever won a Nobel Prize, and 5 of those 9 Muslims were for the Peace Prize. Muslim countries produce just 10% of the world average when it comes to scientific research. It's very clear to me that due to hundreds of years of incest, these people have completely polluted their gene pool. The Quran definitely has something to do with the promotion of inbreeding, but as the years went on, it became a part of their culture. Even Middle Eastern Christians enjoy marrying their siblings and cousins, although they inbreed less than their Muslim neighbors. In my opinion, allowing these people into our countries is a very bad idea, and Europe is realizing that right now. I don't care if Middle Easterners want to fuck their siblings and cousins, but they should stay in their own countries and do it there. We shouldn't bring that shit over here into our beautiful land, and have our people suffer because of it.
A person who dares to point at the pathology of inbreeding in the Muslim community is accused of whipping up hatred against Muslim people. But all of this could not be further from the truth. To fight against inbreeding anywhere is to defend humanity, and to defend innocent babies from birth defects. Fighting against this Islamic practice stems from a pro-Muslim calling, since identifying destructive ideologies and practices in Islam enables the protection of the Muslim people from harm and genetic disorders. Incest in Islam for a period of 1400 years has produced the side effects of low IQ, birth defects and mental disorders. The closer the blood relative, the higher the risk of mental and physical retardation and schizophrenic illness. Muhammad actually did marry two close relatives. One was a first cousin, Zaynab binti Jahsh, who was not only the daughter of one of his father's sisters, but was also divorced from a marriage with Muhammad's adopted son, Zayd bin Haritha. It was the issue of adoption and not cousinship that caused controversy due to the opposition of pre-Islamic Arab norms. Many of the immediate successors of Muhammad also took a cousin as one of their wives. Omar married his cousin Atika binti Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, while Ali bin Abu Talib married Fatima, the daughter of his paternal first cousin Muhammad and hence his first cousin once removed. Quran Al-Nisa chapter 4 verse 23 says, "Prohibited to you for marriage are your mothers, daughters, sisters, fathers' sisters, mothers' sisters, brothers' daughters, sisters' daughters, foster mothers who gave you suck, foster sisters, your wives' mothers, your stepdaughters under your guardianship, born of your wives to whom ye have gone in, no prohibition, if ye have not gone in, those who have been wives of your sons proceeding from your loins, and two sisters in wedlock at one and the same time, except for what is past, for Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful." As you examine Quran chapter 4 verse 23, Allah did not forbid the marriage between first cousins who are close relatives. Islam promotes incestuous marriage from fathers, brothers, daughters, or the children from one's uncle or aunt called cousins. Allah of the Quran came from Arabic tradition of paganism, before the Quran is written. As it is told in Quran Surah chapter 34 verse 44 to 45, Quran Al-Qasas chapter 28 verse 46 and Hud chapter 11 verse 49, that no warner and no scripture with the word Allah was sent to the Arabs prior to the birth of Muhammad. So, the word Allah does not originate from the divine source. Yahweh had inspired the scribe of Prophet Joshua to write Allah based on Hebrew Joshua chapter 24 verse 26, whereby it has the precedent usage, to mean an oak tree. Amazingly, three Hebrew words namely Elohim, Allah and Yahweh appear in one verse of Joshua chapter 24 verse 26 with a distinct meaning for each word. Furthermore, Yahweh has the precedent blasphemy law in the Torah Exodus chapter 23 verse 13, and Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 20, to forbid the prophets and the children of Israel to speak the names of other gods except for Hashem, in Hebrew means the name, called Yahweh. This particular fact shall destroy the falsehood of the Quran, which has the pagan god called Allah attempting to equate it with Yahweh, God of the Hebrews. Marriage between cousins are banned in the Chinese culture in China and Taiwan, and in countries such as North Korea, South Korea, and in less than half of the United States. Cousins are deemed close relatives, who share the common grandparent. In some periods in Chinese history, all cousin marriage was legally prohibited, as law codes dating from the Ming Dynasty from 1368 to 1644 AD attest. China has banned cousins marriage since passing its 1981 marriage law, although cross-cousin marriage was commonly practiced in China in the past in rural areas. Several states of the United States have bans on cousin marriage since 1880. As of February 2014, 24 the United States prohibit marriages between first cousins, 19 the United States allow marriages between first cousins, and 7 the United States allow only some marriages between first cousins. Allah of the Quran allowed Muhammad to marry the first cousins from paternal and maternal uncles and aunts. Quran chapter 33 verse 50 says, O Prophet, we have made lawful to thee thy wives, too, whom thou hast paid their dowers, and those whom thy right hand possesses out of the prisoners of war, whom Allah has assigned to thee, and daughters of thy paternal uncles and aunts, and daughters of thy maternal uncles and aunts, who migrated from Mecca with thee, and any believing woman, who dedicates her soul to the Prophet, if the Prophet wishes to wed her, this only for thee, and not for the believers. We know what we have appointed for them. As to their wives and the captives whom their right hands possess, in order that there should be no difficulty for thee. And Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Leviticus 18 verse 9. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether brought up in the family or in another home. Leviticus 18 verse 14. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother, that is, you shall not approach his wife, she is your aunt. Leviticus 18 verse 15. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law, she is your son's wife, you shall not uncover her nakedness. The rationale behind the prohibition of marriage with a cousin is based on Leviticus chapter 18 verse 14, whereby an aunt is forbidden for marriage. The simple logic is that an aunt does not have a blood relationship with your father's brother, but she had become one flesh with your uncle during marriage. Likewise, the daughter of your uncle, that is your cousin, may carry the same mutated gene as yours from both parents, inheriting from the same biological grandfather. We inherit one gene of each pair from each parent. So the child of a union between siblings or cousins could inherit the same mutated gene from both parents, thereby resulting in serious birth defects. Yahweh clearly stated in Leviticus 18 verse 17, Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter, or her daughter's daughter, to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswomen, it is wickedness. Leviticus 20 verse 17, If a man takes his sister, a daughter of his father or a daughter of his mother, and sees her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness, it is a disgrace, and they shall be cut off in the sight of the children of their people. He has uncovered his sister's nakedness, and he shall bear his iniquity. Leviticus 20 verse 18, If a man lies with a woman during her menstrual period and uncovers her nakedness, he has made naked her fountain, and she has uncovered the fountain of her blood. Both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Leviticus 20 verse 19, You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister or of your father's sister, for that is to make naked one's relative, they shall bear their iniquity. Leviticus 20 verse 20, If a man lies with his uncle's wife, he has uncovered his uncle's nakedness, they shall bear their sin, they shall die childless. Allah of the Quran is not Yahweh, since he did not comply with Quran chapter 46 verse 12, and before this was the Hebrew book of Moses, as a guide and a mercy, and this book confirms it in the Arabic tongue, to admonish the unjust, and as glad tidings to those who do right. The word Allah is plagiarized word from Aramaic word Ilah, Strong's code H426, which means mighty one. But the modification of Ilah to be spelt as Allah becomes an encroachment of the precedent Hebrew word Allah, Strong's code H427, which means oak. Google H427 Allah and you can see that Allah means oak by the precedent usage of the Aramaic word about 2,000 years before the advent of Islam. Yahweh had inspired the scribe to write Elohim, Allah and Yahweh in Hebrew, Joshua 24 verse 26 in one verse altogether. Each word has a specific meaning. You cannot see such a coincidence in one verse elsewhere in the entire book of the Holy Bible. Since the Hebrews have the precedent usage of the word Allah for a species of oak tree, then Arabs have encroached with the Hebrew word Allah. This is the first clue that the word Allah has no divine inspiration from Yahweh for his name except for an oak. Furthermore, Yahweh had the blasphemy law, which forbids the prophets and the children of Israel to speak the names of other gods except for his one and only given name Yahweh. The precedent blasphemy law is written in the Torah, Exodus chapter 23 verse 13, Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 20 and Leviticus chapter 24 verse 13 to 16, whereby none can speak the name of other Elohim, except to utter the name or Hashem, of Yahweh. Whoever blasphemes the name of Yahweh shall surely be put to death, as it is written in Leviticus chapter 24 verse 16. Jesus said, I and my Father are one, in John chapter 10 verse 30, and that he said, all things that the Father has are mine, in John chapter 16 verse 15. Yahweh said to Moses, I am Yahweh your God, in Leviticus chapter 18 verse 2. By virtue of the words of Jesus Christ in John chapter 16 verse 15, he owns all words of the Father, I am Yahweh your God. Hence, to give glory to other names of Elohim apart from Jesus Christ, it is a blasphemy against Yahweh God Almighty. Allah can never be the name of Yahweh, since he had inspired the word to mean an oak, and nowhere did Yahweh redefine it to mean his title. Hence, Allah means oak and not God. Muslims, who cannot comprehend this fundamental difference between Allah and Yahweh, imply they have very low intelligent quotient. Satan is destroying the Muslims by encouraging them to continue the practice of incestuous marriage, and produce offsprings of low quality but huge in quantity. While this article does not prove any correlation between birth defects and first cousins marriage, it presents the overview of the widespread of incestuous marriages within the Islamic nations. Furthermore, it proves that Allah and Yahweh are two gods, which have different sets of unlawful marriages. The genetic problems arising from incestuous marriages have been medically proven. Allah of the Quran is a false god, since he promotes destruction of humanity by permitting incestuous marriages. May Yahweh our God open the eyes of all races, to behold that the nations and states in America, which forbid first cousins marriage, have medical grounds to support it. Allah of the Quran is basically an Arabian pagan god, which cannot speak nor foresee the genetic problems arising from incestuous marriages. Shalom.